Hi, I'm Dr. Watkins from YourBlackWorld.com. Many of you saw recently that there was some drama in the White House with Attorney General Eric Holder and President Barack Obama invoking executive privilege in response to criticism that the Attorney General has received over Operation Fast and Furious, which took place down in Mexico. Now, to understand some of this, I saw this, I know what I know, but then I don't know what I don't know, and I don't even know what I don't know. So to help answer some of those questions, I wanted to bring in noted political scientist Dr. Wilmer Leon. He is a professor at Howard University. He is also the host of Inside the Issues with Wilmer Leon, which comes on Sirius XM channel 128, The Power, on Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. How are you doing today, Dr. Leon?
I'm doing great. Good to see you again.
Good. Yeah. Well, you don't have any extra gray hairs from the last time I talked to you. That's probably because you're under less stress than Eric Holder. I think Eric Holder's going to.
I am right now. Right now.
So Dr. Leon, I saw what was going on with the White House, and I saw that the Obama administration was invoking executive privilege, which some interpret as a method of protection for the Attorney General, as he's receiving an increased amount of criticism from the right wing about Operation Fast and Furious. Can you give us your take on what's going on and what all this means?
Sure. In fact, let me just quickly give a very encapsulated, truncated explanation of Fast and Furious. From 2009 to 2011, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the FBI, and a couple other agencies decided to try and track guns that were being sold out of Arizona and other states in the West into Mexico. And so instead of just arresting the straw buyers that were going into these gun shops and buying these weapons, what they decided to do was let some of the weapons walk across the border, and then they would track those weapons, hopefully into the hands of drug kingpins, and be able then to arrest them that way. So instead of just arresting low-level gun purchasers, they were hopefully going to be able to track the guns across the border to a much broader network of the drug cartel. I believe they allowed about 2,000 weapons to cross the border, and of those 2,000 weapons, they lost track of about 1,700. So they let these weapons walk across the border, then they lost track of where they went. So that, in a nutshell, is Operation Fast and Furious. Now, the problem for this became when a Border Patrol agent by the name of Brian Terry was shot and killed, and it was found out that he was killed with one of the weapons that they had lost track of. So when that happened, the Republicans got all up in an outrage and an uproar about what was this, what's being done, and all of that kind of stuff. Now, I think it's also important to bear in mind that even though this letting these guns walk was being used by the ATF and these other agencies, that was no longer an accepted policy. And it's important to understand that this strategy actually started, not the Fast and Furious program, but the strategy of allowing the guns to go across the border. That was actually initiated during the Bush administration. I want to say 2006. I think it was around 2006, 2007 that the Bush administration was the one that actually came up with this plan in the first place. Okay, so again, not necessarily Fast and Furious, but the idea of allowing guns to walk across the border and then track the guns into Mexico.
Interesting. Okay.
So now here's how Attorney General Eric Holder gets in trouble. Darrell Issa's committee sends a letter to Holder asking Holder what he knows about this. And basically Holder says, I don't know anything about it. It's not happening. This isn't being done. And Issa then finds out later that, in fact, lower level individuals within the Justice Department were actually engaged in this practice, And so now that is then the peg that they're using to hang their hat on, that Attorney General Eric Holder is in this immense cover-up. Because he initially said, I don't know anything about it. And then it came out a couple months after he said that, or after he responded in writing to their request. It then came out, oops, actually, this is going on. I didn't realize it.
Wow. So
in a nutshell, that's how we got to where we are.
Okay. So given where we are right now, a lot of the headlines have featured the fact that that the Obama administration has invoked executive privilege in response to requests for certain documents from the Attorney General. Can you now I'm going to tell you that now this is my initial interpretation, is that it seems to me that when you are that defensive and that protective, you are protecting something that's very sensitive. You're a vulnerability, in terms of what you're doing. So is that the correct interpretation? I mean, and how rare is it for an administration to invoke executive privilege in a circumstance such as this?
Well, let me answer your second question and take off the in circumstances such as this and just say that as far as I know, the Bush administration exercised executive privilege 6 times during the Bush administration. This is the first time that President Obama, to my knowledge, has exercised executive privilege. And I think it's important for the audience to understand that we have in our structure of government separation of powers. So your judiciary or your judicial branch, your legislative branch, and your executive branch, which is the president, all have different areas of responsibility. And executive privilege is a protection that has been invoked by the White House to basically enable it to engage in conversation and dialogue about very sensitive issues without having to worry that through some other branch's investigation that those discussions will be made public. The executive branch feels that they need to have unfettered ability to speak freely about whatever they want to talk about in order to get something done, and that they should never have to worry that their discussions are going to be subject to congressional investigation, therefore restricting individuals' sense of openness and the ability to speak freely. That's, I think, a general explanation of why the executive branch at times invokes executive privilege. But it isn't universal, and it does not apply in all circumstances. And that use of executive privilege can be subject to judicial branch or court review, as it was in Watergate when President Nixon tried to exert executive privilege and not release the tapes.
Okay, so we know the official reason that the Obama administration is invoking executive privilege. What is the armchair analyst reason? Meaning, what's going on between the lines? What do you see here as an expert of political science, as an individual who is actually? I mean, you taught a class on the presidency, so I'm dying to get your take on what you think could be going on here.
Well, what I think is going on here very clearly is that the Republicans are using this fast and furious investigation as an attempt to taint the Obama administration. They have been saying since the administration was sworn into office since the president was sworn into office, that they were going to investigate the Obama administration, and they've been really trying to bog the administration down in so much minutia and red tape and paperwork that basically they're unable to function. And so what is really going on here, I believe, is because of, I believe it was an honest mistake that Eric Holder made. Fast and Furious was being conducted at a level well below his pay grade. And he most likely didn't really understand, probably didn't know what was happening. And if he did have some general idea, he didn't really understand the details of the operation. Again, it was ATF, it was FBI, and some of the other government agencies. So, for him to say, I didn't know nothing about it, was probably a very honest statement. And so now what Darrell Issa from California is trying to leverage is the fact that you said you knew nothing about it. Now we know that you did. And with that, now we want all documents that pertain to this issue. If Holder had not misspoken as he did initially, I don't think that Issa would have the grounds, and I'm not saying that he legally has the grounds. I'm saying the perception is that he now has the grounds. Since you lied to us, you now have to give us all documents. So what I really see, this is a very long way of saying, what I see here is the president is trying to fend off this Republican attack on his administration by exercising executive privilege. And it's important to understand that Eric Holder sent the letter to President Obama asking him to invoke executive privilege. President Obama did not come up with this on his own.
Interesting.
He did this in response to a letter that Eric Holder sent him saying, Mr. President, please do the following.
Okay, well, Dr. Leon, I'd like to ask you one more question. Where do you see this going from here? What do you think the next several months are going to look like? What's the best case scenario and what's the worst case scenario for Eric Holder? And how do you think this is going to play out, especially with this being an election year?
Well, I think there are two basic tacks here. One is the legal/constitutional, and the other is political. I think what now has to happen is the Obama administration really needs to explain to the public the basic realities here. We are in a political season. The Republicans are using this merely for political purposes, and they are jeopardizing our democracy in an effort to gain political points. The chairman of the RNC, Reese Priebus, said last year that Fast and Furious was going to become a campaign theme. The RNC has used the issue of Fast and Furious in its fundraising, calling, demanding for Attorney General Holder's resignation. So all this is political. This is nothing but politics, and so I think this really rests now in the Obama administration's ability to gain control of the narrative and clearly explain to the American people, this is foolishness. This is crap. This has nothing to do with reality. And are you as a people, gonna stand idly by and allow these Republican ideologues to just run roughshod over our democracy?
Wow. Well, it will be interesting to see how this all plays out. You can see the Republicans kind of using, the death of this federal agent as a point of sympathy for people to say, look, this irresponsible Negro in the White House got this honest, good white man killed. That right there is
over his head. In over his head. That's what they keep telling you. They're in over their heads. And this would be, to your point, another example of that.
Absolutely. Well, it'll be interesting. I mean, you can't expect people to not play politics during a political year. Unfortunately, that's the reality in which we live. So I want to say thank you very much, Dr. Leon, for.
But just if I could, just real quick to that point, though. Real quick to that point. Yes, this is a political year, but what we're witnessing here is a basic attack on our democracy. That's what this is, along with the vote fraud tactics that the Republicans are playing. Those things are, this whole issue with voter fraud and all of that. Those things, they are using ideas that people can gravitate around and they are twisting and contorting those things and using them to their advantage. And that's very, very dangerous for our democracy. This is beyond regular politics.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, then I guess not only are they going to play politics, but they're going to play dirty politics.
There you go.
And it's getting dirtier by the second. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. You and I have, we've tried to explain both sides of what's going on with the Obama administration. What I like about your analysis, Dr. Leon, is that you keep it honest and objective. You give us the facts. You tell us when the administration is screwing up. You tell us when the administration it needs to be defended. And I think in this case, you're saying that the Republicans
need to be defended here.
Well, absolutely, and I agree with you. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Leon. I truly appreciate your time. And everybody, this is Dr. Wilmer Leon. He is a noted political scientist at Howard University. He is the host of Inside the Issues with Wilmer Leon, which comes on Sirius XM The Power, channel 128, Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. His Facebook page is facebook.com/Dr. Leon's Prescription. And I really encourage you to check it out. He's always producing lots of good information for our people and for all of us, not just our people, but everybody's people. And also I'll ask you, if you haven't done so yet, I hope you will support my radio show with Ed Gordon. It's Ed Gordon's show. I'm just a sidekick, but it's Weekend with Ed Gordon. It comes on in DC on WHUR Saturday mornings from 7 to 9, and in Detroit on Mix 92.3 Sundays from 12 to 2. So anyway, until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated, and we are gone. Peace.